Hello and welcome. I am, first of all, sorry for the thumbnail on the video. I asked the AI to provide me a shocked elf, and that's what it showed me. And I figure, hey, I'll use that one. I promise next time I'll try to even it out. It'll be a shocked dude or hobbit or somebody, something like that. Anyways, moving right along to the actual content of this video. You probably know how to move around in LotRO, but have you ever met someone who clearly doesn't know how to manage their camera angle while moving, or who doesn't know how to engage cruise control, or even engage the walking mode? You probably know how to rearrange your user interface, but do you know how to save your configuration to a local file so that you can reapply your UI arrangement to other characters, or restore that arrangement if it gets mangled? Have you ever wanted to explain how to do this to a friend? Have you ever had a friend or kinmate complain about the camera going wonky all the time? Have you ever had a kinmate or a friend who keeps accidentally pulling more enemies into a battle and you have no idea why or how they keep doing that? Then this is the video for you. I'm hoping this is the video we can share with friends and family who are looking to get started with LotRO, or are still new enough that a lot of this information will be helpful. And, actually, I'm hoping that even some seasoned veterans might find a tip or two here that is worthwhile. So, with that out of the way, let's get started. So, movement in LotRO is pretty straightforward with the basics. I'm tapping the A key and the D key. That will spin you around. W key moves you forward. S key makes you move backward. However, there's also the mouse wheel. You can zoom in all the way into first person mode. The mouse wheel can move you out till you're quite a ways away. And then the other thing is there is free look with your mouse. So if you hold down, you'll see my cursor disappear when I do this. I'm holding down the left mouse button. And then if I move the mouse, I have the ability to free look around. I'm trying to go slow. You can go quite fast. I'm trying to go slow so I don't make anyone sick. But you can go back and forth. Now the key here is while I'm holding down the mouse key, the mouse button, you can actually move. So you can kind of set a camera angle to watch yourself move around. So I'm using the keyboard to move while holding my mouse button to hold a certain camera angle. All right, now let's go back to the default. If you ever want to go back to your default view that you kind of start with, you just tap the 0 key on your number pad on your keyboard. If you have a number pad, that puts you back to default. Just snaps right back to it. So the next cool thing is if you ever want to go keyboard free for a few minutes, you can just hold down the right mouse button and then press the left mouse button while still holding down the right mouse button. And with both mouse buttons down, I am not using the keyboard at all right now, and I'm just kind of cruising around and steering with the mouse. So that's another way of moving. And of course that leads to the fact that whereas holding down the left mouse button rotates the camera, holding down, did I say left there? Holding down the left mouse button rotates the camera. Holding down the right mouse button turns your character. So you can actually turn your character by holding down the right mouse button, and then, while still holding it down, just press the left, and you start moving towards it. Release both, and you stop. Let's see. One other interesting part about moving is you're always running by default. But if you'd like to fix that, or if for some reason you would like to walk, I'm zooming in a little here, press the insert key, the INS key on your keyboard, and that toggles walking mode. So as you can see, I'm now walking. Tap insert again, and you start running. And that's really all there is to movement. Most of the time I'm using my right, holding down my right mouse button to steer. and then holding down W to move forward. There is actually one last thing. The numlock key is a cruise control. So if you just kind of use your right mouse button to aim for the horizon where you want, like put the place you want to be right over your head. There, we want to go there. And then hit the numlock key on your numpad, your number pad on your keyboard. And I'm totally hands-free right now. My hands are off the keyboard and the mouse, and he will just keep going. It's canceled if you just hit any movement keys whatsoever. So I'm going to hit it again. Again, it's totally hands-free. Off I go. So that's the basics of movement. Pretty straightforward. So this is personal preference, but personally I can't stand this big yellow arrow that they put over things when you select them. That maybe it's just because it wasn't there in the original release of the game and I fear change. But if you want to turn that off, that is under Options, UI Settings, scroll down to Selection Indicator and turn that off. Now, if you think you don't want that day to day, but it might be useful in combat, you could leave that on and then select the one below it, which then only uses it in combat only. Personally, as you see here, I'll do that real quick. And now when I select him, there's nothing there because I'm not in combat. But if I was in combat with him, it would put that gold thing above him again. I don't want it ever, so I'm going to turn both off, and it's gone. So there we go. Just a quick tip, minor annoyance that some people might want to fix. Another potential annoyance is a lot of people will be playing the game and then all of a sudden they seem to lose control of their camera. So to give you an example, you should have control of your camera. But then let's say you select this guy and all of a sudden your camera moves over that way. And you're like, no, I want to look over here. And there it goes there. And then you're like, well, let's select this guy. Or let's select one of these. And all of a sudden what it's doing, it's called auto target lock-on mode, I believe. And it takes control of your camera and always puts you in a line with whatever you're targeting. So if this happens because you've at some point pressed the letter X on the key X on your keyboard, the X as in X-ray key. So if you just tap X, it turns off. Now we have complete control of our camera again. Do it again and you can see it's zooming, it's kind of controlling my camera for me and that nice little smooth motion. Personally, I hate it. Could be personal preference. Could come in handy in certain situations. Maybe mobile mounted combat. I think that might be why they introduced this, but maybe it pre-exists that. I don't really recall. But the key is, oh, see, still, okay, I'm going to turn it off. Going to tap X, boop, and now, boom, goes back to my my default view, and I have control again. If you know you're never going to want to use this, and you're tired of it screwing you up, you can just go to key mappings, and it's all the way down at the bottom. And toggle target lock-on mode, and you can just delete that key mapping. Make sure it's off first. Otherwise you have no way to turn it off, right? After you unset that until you set it up again. So yeah, now I can press X as much as I want, and it doesn't happen anymore. So I can't really imagine that there's many people who play this game very long who don't know about the control / UI modification procedure. But we're going to cover a little bit of advanced usage of it via the /UI command after I show you the basics here. But basically the control / comes in, like, let's give you an example. We select Captain Brackenbrook, and as you can see, everything's kind of overlapping up here. So to fix that, we hold down the control key and we hit the / key on the keyboard, and that opens this mode here. And we come on up here and we kind of have to fumble around a little bit to find the thing we actually want to move, but that's it right there. We're hovering over it and it says opponent vitals. That's almost certainly what we want to move. And we grab it and we put it to the side a little bit so that it's not overlapping anymore. And now that looks pretty good, right? So let's do a few more. Like I would tend to want the end travel to be kind of next to me here while I'm on a horse, a swift horse or something. Alerts, I tend to want to put... You get the idea. You move stuff all around. As you find that they are not where you want them, you just quickly hit Control /, open this up, move the stuff where you want it, and then hit Control / again, and it's there. The trick here is that this appears to be stored per character on the server. So it's not saved in your user preferences file. It's not saved in your key maps file, obviously, that's for key mappings. And so realizing that, you can start a new character and all of this stuff will be back at defaults. So it appears to be, again, saved per character on the server. However, realizing this, they have given us one tool, and that is the UI command. If you look down there in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, I'm typing /UI layout, and then I type a name. I type save, right? I think, and then HD layout. Like I'm running at 1080p right now, so I'm going to call it that. So //UI layout save HD layout, and now it says saved UI layout 2, and that's my hard drive users folder. That's my real name, people. Brian. Documents, the Lord of the Rings Online, and then it's created a UI folder, a layout folder, and has now saved an HD layout .layout file there. Don't worry about all that, because it's just telling you that's what it's done, but you won't have to know any of that to use this in the future. You just have to remember what you named that file, which was HD layout. So let's mess some stuff up, or pretend like this is the way it was by default, right? And oh my gosh, what have we done? Let's see. I think it even affects your bag location. Again, something that you can't save or anything like that. And I think it also, yeah, it affects your chat box location. So everything's gotten messed up, right? And you want to put it back the way it was. Let's say you change screen resolutions or something like that, and somehow that messed things up. You can just type UI layout load HD layout. Boom. Everything just went back to the state it was when you saved that file. And as you can see, you can back those files up, moving from computer to computer, things like that. It's going to be there in your documents, the Lord of the Rings Online folder, along with your screenshots and your keyboard key mappings and your user preferences. So that comes in really handy when you get things all dialed in, and I usually do spend quite a bit of time getting everything kind of aligned just right. The first time you ride a horse, you'll probably want to move around, you know, your mount dismount box and things like that. Let's move the frame rate over here, your quest tracker over here, but now the quest tracker and your quest action buttons are overlapping, so let's move those out here or put them down here, etc., etc. You get the idea. Turn it off, and then UI layout save HD layout again, and that'll update it. It's going to overwrite it, and now those are saved. So if I create a new character, I just pop that, I just do load instead, pop that in, and that's, it's what it's essentially doing, from my understanding, is you are saving your preferences to this file, and then when you load it, you are, I mean, as you move these around, you are changing some values for your character on the server. It remembers these from session to session, so it's got, it's almost certainly saving on the server. Otherwise, we wouldn't need this functionality down here. So what you're doing here is when you do the save layout, you're essentially querying the server and saying, hey, take all of my preferences for my UI layout and save them to this file. Then you are dumping that into the file, and then when you are doing the load, you are essentially taking them from a locally stored file on your computer and and just blobbing them up, dumping them the other direction onto the server, and it's saying, oh, this is where he wants everything. Save it to your character on the server, and you're all set. I think I've covered it. I'd just be repeating myself, which I like to do and try not to. But I think that really does cover it. The only thing I would point out, and again, might be repeating myself, this is separate from your system preferences, you know, like your desktop resolution, your windowed resolution, your all this stuff. All this stuff is stored in your user preferences.ini file. And then your yeah, pretty much all of this stuff. So that's not what this is saving. What it is saving is all the stuff you can move around on the screen dynamically, whether it be by grabbing the chat tab or grabbing these things when you're in control / mode. Is that clear? Okay. Okay. Personal preference again, but personally, I loathe the pending loot screen. I don't know why it's here. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's some late game system. I have yet to work with the delving system or anything like that, having come back only recently. So maybe there's a reason for this other than the obvious of just piling stuff up and not letting it go directly to your bags. But as you can see here, if I want this rough fur, I can say loot or loot all. I can filter these things out if I don't want them anymore. That seems dangerous. But what if you just don't like this? You like the way the game was before the pending loot system? There is an option to just turn it off. And that is under Options, UI Settings, and about this far down, if you can see the bar there. See Always Loot All. Turn that on. If checked, you will automatically try to take the contents of any corpse or container that you open as if you had pressed the Loot All button. I also think this is going to bypass the pending loot screen. So let's see. Yeah. No pending loot screen. And we now have 2 furs. So it's now just going directly into our bags. So occasionally you'll find that you've out-leveled a zone. And this is an epic quest ring, so I don't think this would happen to this. But for normal quest rings, they'll turn gray, and they'll be very faint. And what that's basically saying is, hey, you can do this, but you're not going to get much out of it, right? Well, those are now called trivial quests to you. They're so far below your level that you're not going to get much XP from them, etc., etc. And you can see here on the radar map, quest rings appear. When they're trivial, they don't appear anymore by default. So the way you turn that off, because I'm often over level in a zone, and I don't see any. I want to see the quest rings to get them done, even if I'm over level. So you go to Options, and under UI Settings, it's about 2/3 of the way down under Miscellaneous, I believe. And it should be here. Show trivial. Show trivial quest icons in radar. So, if this ring here had gone gray, it would still be showing up here as just a regular ring, just like that one. So, while we're here, do note that you can filter your radar. So if you're having trouble seeing through all the clutter and all you want to see are quest rings, just say clear all. And then, where are quest rings? There they are, quest. And then you will only see that quest ring. But just remember to set it back to select all. Otherwise, you could really start getting yourself confused why this is, why the things you're looking for other than quest rings are not showing up there. All right, that's pretty key. Show trivial quest rings. So going through some of the combat options here under Options and Combat. This one, auto-target enemies, I think a lot of people like. I tend to turn it off. I think when you're first getting started, it might be nice to automatically target something that's attacked you. I find sometimes I don't want to target that guy who's hassling me. Instead, I want to be doing something else. So I tend to turn this off, but for beginners, you might want to leave that on. skills can enable default attack. What this means is if you're like a hunter and you do one of your bow skills, when you execute that skill, it will also turn on what's called your auto attack. Uh, It'll enable auto attack mode. And so I don't see why not to have that turned on. I'm sure there are reasons, but I would leave that turned on. Allow skill buttons to target nearest enemy. This is a huge one. This can get your group killed. Back in the day when things were actually tougher in a lot of group encounters or just moving around on the landscape, this could get you killed as an individual too. If you just, again, as a hunter, you hit one of your range skills, it's going to find the nearest target and just start combat with you. And if that enemy, what we used to call a mob for mobile enemy or whatever, if that enemy is standing amongst, a bunch of other enemies, they're all going to come at you. So this was the skill this was the option that was wiping a lot of groups back in the day. So I always turn that off. I want to explicitly target something, then I want to hit my skill that attacks them. Because what happens with this one, to be more clear, a lot of times you're ending combat, but you're kind of spamming a command like, swift bow or something like that. And you're hitting it and the mob dies, but just as it dies, you hit another swift bow. Well, now all of a sudden that swift bow is going out in search of another target. Bam, you hit a new target, do a big unfortunate pull, and get your group wiped. So allow skill buttons to target nearest enemy. Turn that off unless you only play solo and don't mind getting yourself killed occasionally. Enable skill target forwarding. That to me is a must. This just means that like let's say I target my pet bear as a lore master with flaming embers or some other attack. It's not going to succeed. But if my bear is currently attacking somebody, it will realize, oh, he means that he wants to attack what the bear is attacking. So it will forward the target of my burning embers to the orc or whatever my bear is attacking. It's really convenient, makes things a lot simpler. Makes it so that if you accidentally target your bear, you're not hosed. So let's see. Show the vitals of your selection's target. I think that's probably worth turning on. Those are really the key ones, though, that I think you really should have. I do recall when I used to raid, showing the assist window was a big deal. It would basically make it visible more visible what your raid is doing and who's targeting who. Your raid assist what they're targeting. Let's see if it's worth. I would turn these on. These are just to make it look a little smoother, and it's only cosmetic, so why not? Enable movement assistance in combat. I hate this. This will make it so that it's almost like that X key that we covered earlier. Turning or following your selection based on the skills you execute. I want to be in charge of where I move to. This sounds like a recipe for disaster. Really, I think that's about it for the combat options. So regarding your inventory bags, obviously you press I and that opens and closes all your inventory bags. I think that's what most people do. They don't tend to open them individually. You've got a auto sort here. Now if you'll notice, when you sort, everything goes down to your lowest bags. I'm sorry, your highest numbered bags. And when you loot things, let's kill this guy here. Actually, first we got to destroy some of these so that we don't have that there anymore. So there's method to my madness. Bear with me. Okay. When you loot things, by default, it goes into your bag 1. So, and then works its way up to bag 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, I tend to like my loot to appear, adjust that according to where you want your loot to appear on your screen. So, if you prefer that, these bags don't ever get loot to them, want to, like what if you keep your Athelis or supplies or stuff in here, you would want to keep that there and not have loot tend to get into that bag. Well, then make that bag 6. And bag 5 could be for your food, and you put it there, and make sure that and therefore you have a lot more time before it fills up to the point that it starts messing with any gaps or empty spots you have in these bags. You can also modify your bags, right? Let's just go over the controls for bags real quick here. This little lock icon makes it so that you can lock and unlock things super easy. You used to have to remember, gosh, I don't remember what it was. Control T? Let's see if it still works. Hold on. No. Control R? Don't even remember. Control I? No. Anyways, there was, maybe it was Shift T. Nope. Anyways, the next time I need to use it, I'll remember it from like brain and muscle memory. But this allows you to quickly lock things so that you can't accidentally sell them, and you can unlock. Just, one click is locking, one click is unlocking. And then you've got the gear mode, which allows you to move. You can essentially make it so that a bag has to have a minimum of one line, or maybe not. That's interesting. Can we move everything into one bag? Could have sworn you couldn't do this earlier on. So if we move out of edit mode, and now I type I back and forth, oh, that's interesting. So those bags will only reappear if I open the gear. So now we are rolling with one bag. Some people might prefer that. So you can see how you can move your allocated number of bag slots to any of 6 bags. So let's say we need a little more for bag 2, so we just put 2 of them there, and then that's a little bigger of a bag. And of course, you can buy more bag slots in the store. And that pretty much covers all bag-related things. Is it Control U? No, it's not. That's the user interface. Oh, it's driving me crazy. What the key used to be to lock things. Anyways, now that we have this button here, it's a lot easier. Okay, sorry for the confusion on that particular entry, but memory is not what it used to be. So a nice thing about the way the inventory system works now, and some fixes or changes or upgrades they've made to the interface, is that because most people just use the I key to open their bags, you can actually kind of get rid of all of these. You used to say, let's open only bag 1, let's open bag 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Who needs that? I don't know. If you need it, great. I hope I did not sound too judgy. But since most people just open them all or nothing at once, you can actually change your under UI settings, I believe. You can change these from opening bags to something more more fun for you, or more useful to you, like the fellowing or group state or Hobbit presence. I don't know. I've put some stuff up there. What have I done? You can put the reward track for legendary weapons, things like that. So obviously I'm level 2, so that's not going to bring anything up. But you can replace these bag buttons with more useful things to you, which I think is worthwhile. So one tip that has come in handy innumerable times over the last really 15 years, by default, the delete key on your keyboard, if you have one, is it's mapped to select nearest item. So if you're just having trouble locating something, and whether it's above you or below you, or anywhere near you, on any axis, you can just run along tapping the delete key. And as you can see, I tapped it, and Kingsfoil Plant shows up. Now, the issue there is, well, yeah, okay, you know it's nearby now, but where is it? Well, number one, it does show on your radar map. But before that was the case, you also had a option under Combat Options and you could say directional selection indicator. Turn that on, and then actually, the next time we select it, we will actually see these little red dots here? They're actually pointing towards it, and not only on X and Y, but Z axis as well. If I were to go up here, it'll point down, which is nice because it'll well, it's hard to see through the stone, but a lot of times that's helpful. There, you can see it there. Or can you? Why is it disappearing? There. It's not foolproof, but it comes in handy. I always have this turned on. Doesn't do any harm. Now, the real, who's to say who's a pro or not, but one real pro tip for me is press delete to select it, and then map another key. I use the end key, which is right next to the delete key on a full-size keyboard, and map that. Let's just go ahead and do it to key mapping. Not to key mapping. Go to key mapping, and under all the way down under use selected. It's quite a ways down here, I think. Might have gone too far. Track nearby. Use. Come on now. There it is. Use selection. Now the U key is mapped to it by default, but you can map a secondary one here. So we're going to keep U, and I'm just going to select it and press the end key. That's already bound to something. I never use it, so I don't mind overwriting it. And now end is there. So check this out. Delete. I hit delete. That's going to select it. And then I hit end. And I immediately just run to it and pick it up. So in situations where you've just got a ton of things to do or pick up, you can just hit delete, hit end. Hit delete, hit end. Now obviously if there's something in your way, that's going to be a problem. But it helps when you're having trouble right-clicking items. It helps when there's just a lot of monotonous things to pick up, dishes or king's foil or whatever it might be. Now, I should point out, you'll note that I pressed delete. Let's do it again one more time. I'm right here. I press delete. It's going to go to this one behind me, I would hope. And then I hit end, and it turned for me, ran up to it, and grabbed it. That is making that's using a combination of settings. And the last key one for this is under UI settings, you can set move to use, which I believe is about halfway down. Or actually, I think it's towards the bottom. Yeah, there it is. Move to use. And that's selected. So if checked, you will automatically move to use an item or NPC that's too far away. So with that on, you would have to move yourself to it, which some people prefer. I think I used to prefer that, but now it's kind of nice if there's just a bunch of things around you that you need to pick up. You just keep pressing delete and end, delete and end, delete and end. I'm not controlling it right now. This is just doing it. So to me, that's huge. Sometimes you need to unselect something. And of course, if there's any other type of item closer to you, that's going to be annoying. And that's when you could start mapping the select next item key. I haven't ever bothered to do that. But let's say there was a mining node of ore between you and this king's foil. Well, it would have just run you up to the mining node and not to the king's foil. Anyways, I think you can see this is really handy. And it cuts down a lot on the frustration of trying to right-click little feathery things beneath the grass or behind tree branches, things like that. It just essentially does it for you. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Okay, now we're just going to kind of tie all this together while also going over Quickslots. You might have noticed when you press I on your keyboard and bring up your inventory, it brings up your Quickslots. This down here is considered Quickslot 1. This is Quickslot 2. This is Quickslot 3. These are all three docked right now. Then there's a fourth and fifth Quickslot bar available, but they're not by default docked down here. And Quickslots can be either vertical, up and down, or horizontal, oriented this way. And I mean, I think you guys probably know the basics of Quickslots, but just to wrap this up, I have turned my screen back to 4K, and I'm going to put things where I like them. Then I'm going to save the UI layout, and we're going to call it a video. So I tend to like my vitals to be a little bit over a ways because I like to put a quick slot bar vertically, and you can see actually I've already done that and forgot. I like to put bar 5 undocked right there so that I have some quick access skills down here along the left hand side right next to my vitals. We'll want to move, let's select somebody here so that we can move the, we'll move the opponent vitals more towards that one. Let's see. And escort vitals are going to be moved down here. You know, these will, this is the kind of stuff that you should probably do as it comes up in you know, not terribly important encounters, but you notice something's out of place, you just pop this open real quick and move your stuff. Like here's my companion manager. The air box, the global broadcast box. My radar, when I'm in 4K, I actually tend to bring the radar out and over a little bit so it's not quite, I don't notice things on it when I have it way up in the corner like this. But just for aesthetics, we're going to leave it in the corner for now. Put the quest tracker where it belongs. Put my bags where they belong. I think we want to go, it does bag 1 first, right? So I want bag 1. That's the one I like to fill up first. Then it works its way up to bag 2, and then bag 3, and then bag 4, and then bag 5. And then I tend to have bag 5 and 6 with some good supplies that I need, food, healing pots, that kind of thing. So I tend to put them over here. And I'd adjust the size of them as needed. I'd adjust all the sizes of these as needed. Things like the frame rates and alerts, I'll put over here, because we're going to have plenty of room for quest tracker. The sparring timer, I want to see that if I'm using it. So you get the idea. End travel, I like to have nearby, you know, the center of the screen. You get the idea. We adjust all this stuff to our tastes. And then let's get those other quick bars out here. So we got to go options, and I should say quick slots, right? And as you can see, bar 1 is already horizontal and it's docked. 2 and 3 should be the same way. And then I want to always show 4, make it horizontal, and dock it. And when I do that, and then I bring up skills, I now have another bar there, right? And for 5, I do not want to dock it, but I do want it always visible. Always show bar 5. And do not make it horizontal and do not dock it. And that puts bar 5 up here in the upper left. Whoop. And so, for example, I can put a minor ballad up there, or a raised spirit, or whatever. You get the idea. Now, these quick slots, this is just my personal preference, but I prefer those quick slots up here to be numbered, or to have hotkeys as my function keys. So F1, F2, F3, F4, F5. So just real quick, let's do that. Key mapping. Now, F1 is already like target self and things like that. So I tend to make target self, well, let's just try self. Target self. Okay, select self. I tend to make that my third mouse button right under my thumb. And then we can show all again. And we're going to go down to quick slot 4. And we're going to say quick slot 49, F1, yes. F2, yes. F3, sorry, it's kind of monotonous. F4, F5. The good news is you don't have to do this more than once if you back up your key mapping file in your documents, the Lord of the Rings Online folder. It reads it from there, so it is stored locally on your system. So I only go up to F9. Sometimes I think I do go to F10 actually, because I like to keep F11 as the screenshot key. So I did just unmap all the target next fellow, target your nearest fellow, target nearest enemy, things like that, which are normally the F1 through F10, but I find I don't use those. So this is just my personal preference. So now when we hit K, you'll see F1 is all along here. The Fs are here. So really, that's it. I'm set up. I'm ready to play. I'm gonna get these out of here. But you get the idea. Actually, when I'm a lore master, I tend to have all my pets lined up along here and the attack key, and I make Control A the attack key. And so let's save this. I'm gonna call this /UI layout save 4K basic. And now that is saved as my 4K basic layout. So the next character I start, I can say UI layout load 4K basic, and I won't have to do all this stuff. It's really nice. So you should be all set. That is, I think, all I'm going to put in this video. I hope it was useful, especially to my kids, who I'm hoping will start playing LotRO here soon. As long as I can steer them away from the store and make them value actual gameplay, etc., etc. Sorry, a little bit of that was as small of a rant as I can make about that. Okay, thank you very much. I've always promised myself I wouldn't say like this video, subscribe, hit the bell, that kind of thing. But you start to realize it's actually kind of cool when people do that. So I'd appreciate it if you can spare the moment to do that. And thank you very much.